sometimes when people are making like video games, they do like a clone, or they do like something that's really close to like another game that was popular. It kind of seems like video game developers just copy whatever's the most popular game at the time and try to release another one of those kind of thing and hope they get rich, and most don't, and somehow the executives who make those decisions still stay employed. I mean, essentially, it comes down to just like copying someone's homework. What I mean by that is like, someone already did the work to figure out something interesting, and your job is just to kind of go in there and just, copy it down. And that it sounds really easy because you don't have to figure anything out, right? It's just right in front of you. And all the other thing you have to do is take their answers, take what they figured out, and just put it into your game, and then give it a new coat of art or whatever, and then push it back out there and market the heck out of it, and you make your money back. But like in a video game, it's a lot harder to copy someone's homework. It's a lot harder just to copy what somebody else did. Like even if you can see the source code too, like you just have systems that work differently, and you don't understand like why they made their decisions, and if you don't understand why certain decisions were made, it's a lot harder to evaluate if you if you even copied it or if you just drew something that looked like you copied it, right? It's essentially like being in a cargo cult. You're just like, well, I'm just gonna do the things that look like the stuff is gonna happen, and then it is gonna happen maybe, and then it doesn't because you didn't understand why you were doing what you were doing. And I mean, you can like honestly sit down and like really take the time to try to understand the game, how it works, and really build a good copy. And even when you do that too, it's like not everything is gonna translate like either to your engine or to your tech stack or maybe to the new art that you want to do, or to the other trend you're simultaneously chasing, right? And so you're gonna have to change stuff. You're gonna have to like fix, bits here and there, and it's just the copying of a simple system is ridiculously difficult. It's also funny too because like I work in the Unreal Engine. And you always see these like tutorials come up. It's like, oh hey, how to copy this mechanic, how to copy that mechanic. I sort of understand what those people are sort of doing, but you have to remember a YouTube tutorial. They don't make their money by providing you with good information. They make their money by getting a lot of people to look at their information. So that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to provide you like the best way of doing this or a way that works with other systems you may have in place or things like that. And that's not to say like their answers are wrong because I mean you can see their stuff, you can follow along. It clearly works, but it might not work for the system that you want to do or for the game that you want to do. And so you may have to like dig in and have a little bit more of a foundation to figure those things out. There's also this kind of even scarier part of copying someone's homework, and that is like, what if someone like guessed the right answer on their homework and you're copying it, right? Like, what if like a developer, got lucky. They didn't really know why they were successful in their game, and they didn't really have a foundational understanding of what was going on. They might not even be able to tell you how to fix what you're having trouble with, and so you kind of run into this situation of like even making a clone of a game just becomes an exercise in understanding the nuance of everything, the difficulty of everything. I mean, you have to kind of know it you kind of have to know it at an even greater level than the developers themselves, or maybe at least to the level that they knew it, if they were really digging in. I always think about this too because like from a sort of executive perspective, right? The idea of like, oh, we're just going to copy like somebody else's coat hanger. To them, it makes perfect sense that this would be an easy thing to do, and it wouldn't take a long time, and they could just do it. But it's like, imagine trying to copy someone's coat hanger, but like you don't have like the same materials that they had, and then like you might not even have like an understanding of like what a coat rack is or like what a closet is. Like you may not even understand like the context of like the type of clothes people are using. Yeah, like you're gonna get really lost unless you sit down and start to think about okay, well maybe I really have to see how all this stuff works. And if you're gonna copy a game, even though I don't really think you can do that because like this is the other side of it. Whenever someone says such and such is a copy of this game, such and such is a clone of something else, like there's just always thinking in the back of my head. It's like, well, maybe some of the levels, like unless the levels are the same, unless like all the content is the same, then like you really start wondering like, hey, this starts to become an iteration of the idea. There was a while when like Doom clones like all the rage because like you could just get the Doom engine and you could just kind of make a game on top of it, replace all the art, replace some of the levels, sort of things like that, sound. Even if all the guns were just like repaints of like what things originally were, it still was like a lot of work, and it was still like new levels or new content or new stuff. And even if you think it's like even if you only replace the textures of like Doom, like the original like Doom, it would still be a different game because now the way everything looks is going to be different, and that's going to mean different things stand out to players and different things don't. So like even if you do like the bare minimum work, I am kind of laughing as I say this, is it's like the idea of copying someone's homework is you're going to save a bunch of time, right? But like, even if you do the bare minimum work and you have like all the source code to work off of and all that, no, it still becomes uh, maybe not as big of a design challenge as doing it, from scratch or just making something else. And the only reason why it's not as big is just because you have the direction, you have that clear like goal that you're shooting for, and it becomes really obvious to you like when you're missing that goal because you can just like plop down an old game, plop down the game you're working on, and just hey, does it feel the same? It's difficult. I mean, there's a lot of time, like being a big fan of immersive sims. There's a lot of times when I'm like, oh, I'm gonna like make a version of this ability, or make a thing that I saw that I really liked, and try to get some of that in my game. And those features, they're just as difficult as, maybe not as difficult as discovering something new, but it's still getting an implementation that works and that feels right is just incredibly difficult. So I just wanted to bring up that if you're one of those guys out there cloning games, more power to you, man. That's tough work.